Hello! Hi! Can you hear me okay? Oh, thanks Victoria for saying. Oh, hi. Hi Ross! Hi Joanna! I'll just pop on Instagram and quickly put a link that it's live. Oh, hi Marcella, Steph. Let me just grab the link. Oh, is the thumbnail of the video the Levi pullover or the Friday tee? Oh no, it's the wrong thumbnail. That won't do. Okay, I think I've changed the thumbnail now. It's been a while, I feel, since I've streamed. Hi Teresa, Camelia, Priscilla, Manon, Chelsea. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, that's it. I've posted. I've got my water, I've got my knitting. I don't know if you saw from the thumbnail then, I'll be working on my Friday tee by Petiteknit. Maybe you can tell me what you're working on if you're also going to be knitting during this little knitting chat. Oh, Leila, you're working on some socks. That's great. I hope you get to finish them. Hi, Jacques, Jade. Thank you for telling me where you're from. It's so nice to see, and I can see there's quite a few then from America. No, I won't be doing any workshop at the Woolly Good. I'll just be coming as a member of the public, I guess. I'll be there both days. Oh, the Highland Slipover by Ozetta. I definitely want to be doing that. I had started doing it, but I was way off gauge, so I had to frog everything, and then I didn't start it again. But I love the shape of it. Starting a swatch for camisole number 2. Oh, that's great. I love camisole number 2. And I guess what I'm doing now, the Friday tee, is broken rib, so that'll be similar to what I'm doing. Working on a tee with double strand mohair, and I hate mohair. Oh, do you hate working with it, or do you hate wearing it? Cumulus blouse with one suri, one mohair. That sounds good. Working on the Tolsta tee. Oh, are you going to be making the Tolsta tank? Oh yeah, Manon, you're making the Melida's dress. I saw on your post. That sounds amazing. Sunday socks in Sandnes Perfect. That's great. I love that sock yarn. It's really rare to find some DK sock yarns that has nylon. Rivendell pullover by Sari. Oh, that's beautiful. I think Sari is my favorite designer at this point. Oh, Maite, your first colorwork project. I saw the, is it like houndstooth pattern that it's called? It's beautiful. Arrow sweater in hand-dyed yarn. Cumulus blouse. Oh, someone is spinning. That's great. Oh, right. I will be taking part in the hand-dyeing workshop, actually, for the Woolly Good Gathering. It's acid dyes, and I think you're gonna dye one skein of yarn and then 5 minis. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. I've never done anything like that before, and I've always been curious about it, but I obviously didn't want to invest in everything that comes with hand dyeing, especially if it wasn't natural dyes and it was all the proper chemical stuff. So yeah, are you coming to the Woolly Good Gathering, Dusty, and are you coming to any workshops? Working on the ranunculus. So Summer. shirt by Jessie Made. Oh, that's great. That's okay, Flaminia. Hi, Mary. Oh yeah, I hate working with mohair. Lots of fluff everywhere. That's true. I was thinking earlier I wanted to maybe make another champagne cardigan, but doing it in Surrey instead of mohair. Because I really, really like the fit of my champagne cardigan, but I don't wear it as much because of the mohair. And I was thinking of making a navy or a black version, but then I was thinking, will that be practical to have a really black, shady cardigan? But I think I'm still tempted to make it because it is like the perfect oversized cardigan without looking too like ridiculously oversized. And I remember wearing the champagne cardigan almost as a jacket in maybe autumn if I'm nipping to the shops, and I just put it on over whatever I'm wearing and I don't need to wear a jacket or a coat. And I really like that. It was quite dense as well with the DK yarn and a fluff, so it was kind of windproof. Oh, pied de poule. That's in French. Yeah, I think I heard that when I was living in Belgium. Oh, Mary, you're going to the Woolly Good. That's fantastic. Casting off the Ingrid Summer Sweater by Gregoria Fibers. Oh yeah, yeah. She has a few from that collection, doesn't she? I was thinking one day maybe I could do one of these streams, and instead of having a project I'm working on like this, I could be working on a task like weaving in the ends of something, or something that I've been wanting to do is going back to all the sweaters I've made and then measuring the gauge on them after they're finished. Sorry if you could hear that, my boyfriend just left for his night shift. Hope the volume's okay, by the way, and it's not too loud or too quiet. Let me know and I can adjust it. Hi, Haley. Ah, it's really nice that it's bright outside. I know the colors are looking a bit flat, and the lighting will probably go down as we go, but it's really nice. The sun was out today, which has been really rare this April. I feel like we've had rain every single day, which is really not making it easy for me to get in the mood for any type of summer or spring knitting. I mean, I'm doing a tea, I guess, but I'm really not imagining finishing that in the next few weeks. Oh, hi, Dwally. Got off work. Can't wait to arrive home and knit a bit with everyone. Yeah, I hope that we can get some progress on what we're doing. Starting the second sleeve on an April cardigan. Oh, I love the sleeves of the April cardigan. They're like nice and tapered. You've been knitting in the garden. That's lovely. We have a tiny balcony where we live in our flat, but it's not something that you can like put chairs out on. Like you can kind of stand on it, but you can't put chairs. But the door's open, so we could kind of stay inside but have the feeling that we're outside. We didn't do it all of last summer. I don't know why, but I'm gonna try and convince Ross that we can both be there while he reads or something, and then I knit, and we can watch people. We have a nice view of a parking lot and the lock, so you can see people who drive to go to the lock, and then they bring like their kids or picnic stuff or their dogs. We see so many dogs from our window when they get ready to go on a big walk around the lock, so it's nice to people watch. Yeah, we have a really nice view from the flat. We're on a high floor. But yeah, I think for next week we were talking with Marlene from Marlene Knits. She's coming over for the week-ish, and we're going to the festival together, and she was looking at the weather because she's trying to pack, and you know, she doesn't want to bring too much because she doesn't have a suitcase. She only has her carry-on. And yeah, she was asking me like, what's the weather going to be like, and I was like, oh, honestly, we don't know, but it's probably going to be bad. And it looks like there's not going to be any rain, but it's going to be cold. So what I like to wear or bring with me when I don't know how the weather's going to be like is bringing accessories. We went to Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, and I brought one woolly jumper, one woolly cardigan, and then I brought like my gloves, scarf, and a hat, and I was wearing the hat all the time. Just starting the third cumulus tee. I love that pattern. I've heard great things about the cumulus tee, but I've heard people say that it's really boring towards the end, very tiring. So making 3 is insane. Good job. I live just outside of Edinburgh. It's also kind of close to Glasgow, so we're in the best of both worlds. But yeah, we're like a short train ride away from Eddie. And I wish I was going more than I do, but sometimes it's just kind of a hassle to go to the train station just to pop in the town. But whenever we're in Edinburgh, we love it so much, and there's so much to do, so much to see. The cherry blossoms are in bloom this weekend, so I was thinking maybe tomorrow I would go and take a nice walk. Ross is working, so he can't act as my photographer, sadly. Otherwise, I could have totally taken him tomorrow to the cherry blossoms and we could have had a lot of fun there. But I might go alone and just have a latte and meditate, or knit as well. I think it was around that time last year that we had the Knit in Public Day worldwide. Was it in April or was it in May, if anyone remembers? Because we gathered here with a bunch of knitters. Ode from Bubbles and Berries, the Cami, the yarn shop. They had organised a little hangout in Edinburgh. That was lovely. Yeah, people saying they like to knit on the terrace. Oh yeah, it's nice when it's not too windy, for sure. Winter jacket or coat. Yeah, because coats are so big, aren't they? Dangerous to only bring a carry-on going to a yarn festival. Yeah, but Marlene was saying maybe at worst she could leave a box of yarn and then I could ship it to her, which is looking like a very likely outcome, isn't it? Oh, the jumper, yeah, this is the Lento that I finished a few days ago, but it took a while to dry because of the aforementioned weather. So I'll do a little modelling, I guess. This is the Lento by Jonah Hillin from Lane magazine, and I made a few modifications with mine. So I didn't do a folded color, it's just like a single layer and then it's a tubular bind off. Then I cast on for size 1, but I did all the way to size 2. I did a pearl, a faux seam. You can kind of see it in the seam of the sleeve. And on the side, there's a pearl seam. Then I did a split hem with the top being smaller than the back. And I really like it. It's really cropped as well, so I'm thinking of wearing it with dresses. And then the sleeves, I did some decreases, but they kind of look like a balloon sleeve, even though the intention was to have them taper. So towards the end I saw that they were still quite wide, so I did a lot of decreases just before the cuff. And what I like with that is that when I'm wearing my arm down, there is a bit of excess fabric, like the sleeve is a bit too long, but then the cuff cinches in and all that excess fabric like floats above it instead of the sleeve being too long and coming all the way to your hand. So the sleeve length is actually perfect because the cuff ends right where I want the cuff to end. And I'm really happy. And the crazy part about this is that I still have half a skein of hand-dyed. I used, if I go check, I used 1.5 skein. I used 150 grams of hand-dyed yarn for a whole sweater. And I think the reason is because of the gauge being massive and me cropping it significantly, but then I did the sleeves full length and the original is 3/4. So I can't believe I was able to get something with so little yarn. And I really like it. I had tried it on before blocking and it seemed really small. And then after blocking, thankfully, I gained a lot of ease. I think before I was just at a neutral ease, and now I gained a bunch of extra fabric. And I like the length. The only thing maybe is the neck is coming a little high, and maybe being a little itchy here because of the alpaca that I held with my hand-dyed yarn. The other thing I was sad about as well was that I used a different skein for the sleeves than I did the yoke. And I was worried there was a big difference in the undertone, so this was kind of blue with speckles, and this one seemed more white with speckles. But here on the camera, you can't tell that there's like a big straight line. Maybe on this one you can see it more, that there's a line between the raglan, where I stopped and split for sleeves. But anyway, both sleeves are the same, so even if there is a difference in the dye lots, it's symmetrical at least. So that was the little preview of what I'm going to say about this in the next podcast episode. But I'm really pleased with the Lento, and it's fun to have made the pattern twice, but made them quite different. Although the first one also had some type of balloon sleeve. I'll read the comments now. Oh, thank you for saying it looks lovely. I really do like the split hem. Waiting for yarn to arrive. The color suits me. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to knitting a bit more with blue. It's a color that I bought a lot of last year, but didn't necessarily knit with. And now I'm gonna use all the blue yarn that I've bought. Hi from California. Knitting a split hem cropped sweater and you like it too. Yeah, it's something that just works. Like, it's a really nice way to have proportion between the elements. Don't think the difference is noticeable. Ah, okay, good, thank you. Don't worry about the difference. Yeah, people in real life don't usually look at that too much. I feel like recently I've been having quite a lot of little issues with hand-dyed yarn where I love it so much in theory and I want to keep buying it, and it's really hard for me to not buy it. And I have quite a large stash of hand-dyed. I was saying at the beginning of the year that one of my goals this year was to really make a dent in the hand-dyed stash. And every time I use it, I always just come up with problems with either pooling or color differences. Sometimes even when I do helical knitting, sometimes I don't, and then it's kind of my fault, obviously, if something doesn't work. But I've been frustrated with the fact that it's expensive and it's not a stress-free experience as you would with just commercial yarns from the same dye lot. And then sometimes the discrepancies in colors can actually take away from your enjoyment of the project or like how proud you are of the final result. And I've been having that a lot with the last few hand-dyed things that I've made, and it does take away like the happiness. Like here I was finished with the Lento and I was happy with the split hem and the cropped feeling, but then I was like, oh, but the sleeves are different. And I've been really reflecting a lot on whether hand-dyed is something that I want to keep buying, because I don't want to be that person who keeps complaining about an issue and then keeps falling into the same trap. Like, it's the same with mohair. It took me way too long to realize that it's not something I should keep buying. And now that I've stopped and I haven't bought mohair in months, I just feel so much better about the decision, and it's not something that I regret or want to go back to. And I feel like hand-dyed is the same, where if I just pull the plug, say I'm not buying any more hand-dyed ever, and I just use all the one that I have, would I regret that decision and get FOMO? I think if I was to follow through on that plan, I would also have to probably unfollow a lot of the UK hand dyers, because I get really tempted, and like their marketing obviously works, and all the beautiful photos and exclusive colorways, etc. And I'm friends with a bunch of hand dyers as well, but I just feel like I just have to hide their posts from my feed because that's what gets me. And I know that if they weren't in my life, I probably wouldn't miss it. Like, I have a lot of brands of yarn that I absolutely love, like Sandnes Garn and Knitting for Olive. They're merino. I love, love, love. And there's even some yarn companies that are able to create colors that look like a tonal hand-dyed with a bit of variation and depth of color. For example, Co-op Knits Socks Yeah. This is like a sock yarn. And I feel like it kind of shows like, not necessarily as a flat color, but it shows a little bit of depth of color, like with a bit of lighter, a bit of darker going in it. And like, this would be a hand-dyed skein that you could buy for like £20. So I think I'm really seriously, strongly considering taking a break from hand-dyed and reporting back on that. I guess the reason I don't want to say it on the podcast, which more people watch, is I don't want to commit to it and then fall on my promise. But I've actually been really, really tempted to buy Advents this year. The marketing was insane. The fear of missing out was insane. I was talking about it to my boyfriend every single day, like when they were doing like the daily mood boards, the daily lead-ups and everything, and I was really saying to Ross, I am going to buy it. I have 4 or 5 I had shortlisted, even though I've always been the person that says I wouldn't do an Advent. And in the end, I didn't buy any, because I was saying to myself, if you really, really want to, you could always get the spare ones that they advertise in October when all is like said and done and they have extras. And I'm so proud of myself for not falling into the trap of limited times, you know, and saying, after I reach my capacity, it's over. Like, that was really making me stress about I should go on the website when it drops and get one. Especially if you want a certain base, they might run out of that base faster than others, and then maybe that base itself won't be available when they have the spares listed in November. I told myself, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If I don't get the yarn I want, then I just don't buy it. And so right now where I stand is I didn't get an advent now, and if I am making that decision about stopping a hand dyed, then I obviously just won't buy any advents, even in October when they get the spares. But yeah, that was a true feat of self-restraint, and obviously no shade to anyone who bought an advent, like all the best to you, and I'm going to be very jealous when advent opening season comes and I don't have any. Maybe Krabea is going to organize another advent swap. Maybe I was thinking I could maybe organize one. I'd obviously ask Rebecca first if she plans to do one, but if she doesn't, maybe I would do one if people were interested in that, if they enjoyed the one that happened last year. I quite enjoyed organizing, you know, knit nights and the charity live stream and the Discord. I like organizing community events, and I haven't done one in a while. They do take a lot of effort and energy, and sometimes I just don't have the mental space for. And for the scrap advent, it's something that you need to organize quite a lot in advance, so I'm also afraid of committing to organizing something like that and then not being in the mood when it comes to it, when it's time to like match people up and then be on call if there's any issues. So I don't want to put myself in that pressured situation. But also, it would be really satisfying and gratifying to offer this opportunity for people. A lot of people said it was the only advent that they'd ever be able to afford, is a kind of scrappy advent. So I totally want to be a part of organizing that, and I have an audience, so I know that some people would sign up. It's not like that could only benefit maybe 2 or 3 people, like maybe a lot of people would be interested in. So I hope I motivate myself. Maybe I'm saying this out loud now in the live so that people can say, like, yes, do it. Maybe if I see Rebecca at the festival next week, I can pop the idea, ask her if she intends to make it, and if not, would she mind if I do it? So I guess it's out on the internet now. I'm thinking of doing that. But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, so if Rebecca organizes one, or if I organize one, I will have an advent anyway. So yeah, because I really enjoyed last year's. I actually had used one of the gifts from the advent in a recent project, and it felt good to have found a use for it organically, as opposed to agonizing for days over if I bought a 24 mini advent, what would I use it for? Would it be a blanket or a shawl or a sweater? I couldn't find any patterns that I particularly loved for advent knitting, and I didn't want to buy one without knowing what pattern I would do. I know there's a million pattern roundups or Ravelry bundles for advent patterns, so there's still more research to be done, and there's going to be a ton of patterns that go under the radar regarding advent. I think I saw someone talk somewhere about how if you're having to find a pattern that you tolerate to use your advent, then that's kind of a sign that you shouldn't do it, because that doesn't sound very exciting, as opposed to if you have a pattern that goes perfectly with your advent and it's meant to be, if you know what I mean. So yeah, let's see what you're thinking. I don't think I would want to dye my own yarn for a project. I think if I'm complaining about the different dye lots in yarn I buy from professionals, I don't think the yarn I would do would ever be good enough for a project. Yeah, Wally, it's frustrating because you can put a lot of effort in a project and not do anything wrong, and it still turns out with flaws. That's what happened with my Sonia sweater. I tried so hard to do all the work beforehand with pre-winding the yarns, alternating, helical knitting. I did everything right, and it still turned out flawed. That really put a big dent in my enthusiasm and eagerness to work my hand-dyed stash, and I'm definitely more tempted to use the tonal ones that I have as opposed to the variegated, especially if I have 3 variegated, I just know that's asking for trouble. Whereas if I have 1 variegated and I make a little crop top, that's great. And I probably would still want to do that and go ahead. Like Jessie Maid has a million patterns for one skin hand-dyed. The tonals I'm more likely to trust, but there could still be issues. I think my... let me think. Yeah, I don't know if I've used a tonal hand-dyed yet with more than one skein. I think I haven't yet, so we'll see. Well done on not getting an advent. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for your encouragement. It was really hard. I'm really easily influenceable and I try to resist. Hand-dyed for socks, that's great. That's how I started, was buying hand-dyed for socks, but then I quickly realized that it was so much easier to buy one skein of hand-dyed than it was to knit one. As in, I wasn't making enough socks that I could justify... I was more excited about knitting sweaters, so for me it made more sense to buy sweater quantities of hand-dyed as opposed to sock quantities. But I do actually really enjoy a pair of socks I made with a hand-dyed skein. Like, that was a true success, and it was really, really fun seeing the little specks of colors like quickly come and change, because when you're making a sock and your stitches are tiny, you're seeing all the little specks come in place. That was really enjoyable. Decided to take a break from buying hand-dyed, including advents. Maybe I should follow your steps, Stephanie. You bought 2 and almost a third, but stopped yourself. Yeah. Rebecca's advent swap was fantastic. I get a lot of joy from the scrappy advent. Yeah. I think what I really wanted to do as well is, if I was buying an advent, I would really want to use it as I was getting it. So a stripe on a sweater, or a square of a blanket. There was a blanket I really liked that was, I think, the Radvent throw? Is that what I'm talking about? It was a blanket, instead of being striped, it was that each square was worked in one of the 12 minis, as opposed to working them in a row. It was like separated, and I really enjoy that visually, having each hand-dyed colorway shine in its own respect without necessarily being right next to similar striped. And also, if I wanted an advent, I was really tempted by a fade and maybe making a big brioche fade shawl. That's where my mind was. And I could still do it. Like, maybe I will have an advent in October. And also the other possibility was that a lot of the advents I was tempted by, they were dyers that this year had done a pre-order of the colorways in January. So that goes at odds with what I was saying with, I wanted to be having an advent so that I could be doing it day by day in December. But I thought I would maybe want to buy a spare advent in January and then do my advent like day by day in February or something. There's nothing that says you can't do an advent style knitting, but I wouldn't be doing it with everyone anymore, and the point of the advent, I guess, is the community feeling. But yeah, some dyers were doing pre-orders for maybe a sweater quantity or like a hat quantity, or you could just buy 3 of the 24 colors or things like that. Like the Fiber Fox was doing that, Skin in the Stitch was doing that. And I think if I really enjoy seeing the advent openings that people do in December from an advent dyer, I definitely would then possibly pre-order that in January when they open it up. But maybe not, because of my problem with hand-dyed now. So really need to make reflected decisions and not impulse purchases, which is the hardest thing with yarn, especially hand-dyed, because of that whole limited quantity aspect. And I think that's what also gets me with sales. Like, if someone offers a flash sale for like one day only, then I'll make an impulse purchase, but I really don't want to do that anymore. Hi Nomi. Working on the Mystery 24 Birds shawl. Oh yeah, I was seeing that. That looks really nice. It's a circular shawl, isn't it? I wouldn't know how to style that, so I also wanted to see what it looks like before starting. I might do a mystery knit along at some point, like participate in one. I think a shawl would be nice. I mean, I have been tempted by the Stephen West things. I think I would need to go with zero expectations and no perfectionism and just enjoy the journey as opposed to the result per se. Yeah, I think the past few years I haven't been tempted to do it. And again, I am usually the kind of person that prefers seeing what it is like and then choosing to do it. But recently I've been feeling like it's nice to be part of the community and to all be in the same boat and sharing that novelty with a lot of people and nobody knows what the thing looks like. Then we have all shared that experience. I think I'd rather do that. If I'm in the mindset for it, maybe I could do that this year with Stephen West. I hadn't even thought that was a possibility, but I have accumulated a fair amount of one-off hand-dyed... Oh, that... Yeah, the screen does that sometimes when I make... I think if I do this, it does something. Or if I do that. Oh, it's not doing it anymore. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I have a few one skein of hand-dyed of different colors, and I think that I could play around with contrasts and seeing if 4 of them would maybe go together. Okay, let's see what else. Appreciate your honesty and genuine approach to discussing topics like that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it feels good to talk about it, definitely. Like, those thoughts have been bubbling in my head for so long. And it's nice to get them out and seeing if it resonates with people. I've been trying to dye yarn with mushrooms. Oh, that's fantastic. That looks fun. People genuinely get joy from simply collecting mini skeins. Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, it's just so beautiful to look at. It's just like very aesthetically pleasing, and especially if they're all from the same collection and they all go well together. It's just that for me, I'll never be able to quiet that part of my mind that's like, but what are we going to do with them? The pieces in commercially dyed yarn look more store-bought, which is nice, but hand-dyed makes the pieces feel more special. Yeah, for sure. I think like this jumper looks kind of tweedy, actually, and it definitely just brings a lot of joy to see the colors being so special. Variegated hand-dyed is great for Fair Isle projects. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely on the hunt for some patterns that are like all done in one color, and then the color work on the yoke is done with hand-dyed. That looks so good in some examples I've seen, so I definitely think I'll do one of those. I think the latest one I've seen is the Azor by Orland Zuch. Yeah, I'd rather spend that money into some specific luxury yarn or needles. The advents are such a money investment that is not something a lot of people can just purchase without thinking about that money aspect. And I think I'd rather buy more yarn of something else rather than one advent. So like 2 sweater quantities instead of 1 advent quantity. I remember last year thinking that Cardiff Cashmere was like my holy grail yarn that I could treat myself to a sweater quantity once, and I have. I bought the sweater quantity of Cardiff Cashmere, but I haven't knitted it up yet. Maybe I can try and make it a goal that I will knit up that sweater for my birthday, possibly wear it on my birthday depending on the weather. I wanted to make the Elizabeth blouse by Petiteknit in the Cosmo colorway, the original colorway. I think I want to do it for my birthday. That would be a really nice goal to finally use up that sweater quantity of a yarn that I was telling myself like was the most luxurious, and then I was too scared of using. I think that's also the reason why people sometimes don't use their advents, because like they like having the whole minis. Maybe if you have the whole 24 minis and you have a reason to use 4, you're like not wanting to separate them from their family because you're like, oh, but what if something better comes along where I could have used the 24 together? But I have read something before that was like, life is too short to keep saving the special candle for a good reason or like the right opportunity. It's like, just burn the candle. Case in point. Just instead of always collecting and saving and hoarding, like use the things that are meant to be used. So yeah, same applies for yarn. If you've got yarn for a project but you think it's not it's never going to be good enough a project for that yarn. Maybe just pull the plug and then replace that yarn with another yarn later that is also special. Oh, made by Wally. You think it was because you liked the video? Okay, well, can we try this? Can someone like the video to see if it creates a little thumb up effect? Thank you. For science. Yes, do it for your birthday. Yeah, I will. The $300 price tag was what stopped me from purchasing a second advent that could get me 3 sweater quantities. Yeah, exactly. I did the mystery cal from Sorry Nordland this Christmas and I loved it. Yes, I so wanted to do that. I think I was doing other timeline things, so I didn't. But I really regretted not doing it. Like, I got FOMO. And she said she might do a mystery scarf knit along for summer instead of her sock knit along. And I really want to participate if she does a mystery scarf along again. You got some Lang yarn cashmere premium, but it's so precious that you can't commit to choosing a pattern. Oh yeah, maybe one of the patterns from Morecat Knits. You seem to like her patterns. Use the best for every day, make every day special. Yeah, that's good too, yeah. It's like sometimes when I was younger, I used to put too much pressure on my birthday, where I really wanted the day to be super special and something that I would remember so much and that would be perfect from start to finish. But then there was so much pressure, and then it was kind of setting myself up to be disappointed. And instead I stopped putting pressure on the birthday. Like, the birthday doesn't have to be different than any other day, and if you wanted to make a day feel really special and great, then yeah, you could totally do that. On a random Thursday of the week, you could say, like, I'm going to go to the restaurant, have a really nice cocktail, like, use the special mug or buy that special food. Like, you can really just treat yourself to things for no reason. And again, in moderation, because you don't want to treat every day like it was your last, in the sense that you then would have no resources at the end. But in December, I think Ross and I went on a big date. I had organized it for no reason. Like, we weren't celebrating an anniversary or anything. It was just, I wanted to do a date, and we're going to make it really special. We're going to, like, have a lot of things that we like karaoke, restaurant, a hotel in a city away. And we did that, and it was fantastic. And to this day, we still talk about, like, oh, remember in December when we went to Stirling? Like, it was really great. And I think I almost remember this better than I remember what we did for Valentine's Day this year. Like, I think he was working, so yeah, it's nice to detach kind of, like, important days with important stuff. Like, it's all arbitrary. It's all a social construct. Yeah, I don't think the thumb was creating the thumb on screen. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see if... Oh, I think there was something that happened if I was counting. Oh yeah, if I did that. It's not doing it. Okay, that's fine. I'll stop. But someone messaged me one time because something happened on screen and then I was really confused and someone told me why, but it's not doing it anymore. Yeah, it's true, you can totally reclaim the yarn if you don't like how something is coming out. For the Woolly Good Gathering, yeah, someone was saying, if you're on a yarn ban, why would you go to a yarn festival? Or, yeah, I think what I'm tempted with is that there's some bag sellers, for example, and I would really like to buy a bag from her. I'd like to say hi to all the vendors and say hi to people and friends. There's quite a lot of Scottish podcasters, isn't there? And I think what's encouraging about this event as well is the fact that it's going to have a social space for just chilling and knitting. And for me, living in the UK anyway, it's not like if I don't buy yarn at this event, I'll never have the opportunity to buy it again. A lot of them might come in different Scottish yarn festivals later in the year or next year. Zakami, obviously I can always buy from them, and I do, during the year. So I'm trying to go to the festival next week with the knowledge that, like, I'm not going there saying don't buy hand-dyed yarn, but I'm going very much armed with the knowledge that I've been having second thoughts about hand-dyed yarn, so like keep that at the back of your mind. And then going maybe with not such a yarn-heavy outlook, but more like fiber arts and knitting paraphernalia. Well, I'm really curious to see what I end up getting. I mean, I went to a yarn festival earlier in March, and I didn't buy anything. Which, at first I thought, was it worth taking the train, paying for the ticket, spending a whole day of, like, exhaustion, socially and physically, like, doing all of that? But it was worth it, because I had seen friends, I had spent time looking at gorgeous things, getting very inspired. I saw someone wearing a Yale cardigan out in the wild. I totally talked to her. I was, like, stalking her the whole event, saying to my friend, I want to go talk to her. And my friend was like, go talk to her then. If not now, when can you do that? So I went and I said, I love your Yale cardigan. Then we talked about it. So that was great. And it's the kind of stuff I really enjoy doing at yarn festivals, is recognizing the sweaters. It just feels like such a game of where's Waldo, where's Wally, to be like, that's the J-All pullover by Ego Knit, or I saw a Moby sweater by Petiteknit, some from Creabea I saw at that yarn festival. I don't know what I'm gonna wear at the Woolly Good Gathering this weekend, actually. I tend to overheat, so I'm thinking either a cardigan or a fingering weight sweater. It is so hard to know, because you don't know what the heating situation is going to be like at yarn festivals. Are they going to be cranking it up, or is there going to be no heating? Then also, when you have to get there, you're going to be braving the elements. So yeah, I think maybe my Surah sweater, that's fingering weight, drop shoulder, balloon sleeves, like it's a bit special. I really can't wait until I make a fingering weight color work Shetland wool jumper. Then maybe wear those, although obviously Shetland wool will be quite warm. I think, like, my dream is to make my Yale cardigan as soon as possible, possibly before the Glasgow School of Yarn, and then go to the Glasgow School of Yarn wearing my Yale cardigan. It's a soft deadline I would like to achieve, and I think it would be possible if I worked on the Yale cardigan all summer. That's my dream. I don't know if it's going to happen. Going to Copenhagen next month, trying to count how many Sophie scarves you see there. Yeah, people say when you go to Copenhagen you can totally see the hand knits. I've seen one person in Scotland, in Edinburgh, wearing a Sophie scarf, but to be fair, she was literally entering a yarn shop, so it feels like cheating. I don't think... sometimes in the streets you see someone who's wearing something that you think is hand knitted, but you don't know if it is for sure, and it feels like you going to say, oh, did you knit your hat? And if they say, no, I bought this for a lot of money, then you're like, oh, sorry. But so many times I've been tempted to compliment someone on a sweater that I thought that they had knitted. I don't know if there's a way of asking, like, did you knit that? Is that okay to ask someone, did you knit this? Anyway, yeah, everybody's saying in the comments that the inspiration is a really good reason to go to festivals, not necessarily the purchasing. Really want to knit more cardigans. What pattern do you really like? I've got a cardigan bundle on Ravelry. I'll see if I can go post it now, because I do save quite a lot of favorites and inspirations. I think I have one called Cardigan Plans, and then one that's called Romantic Cardigans. So those ones are more like lacy, and I was thinking of doing them for date night at some point. Let me know if the links work. I think it's really good going to a festival with a friend as well, because they can totally help you bounce ideas off in terms of like, oh, what do you think this yarn would go well with, or do you think 2 skein is enough, or should I get 3, blah blah blah. But also, even if you go alone, I think the atmosphere is always so social and open and inviting, sometimes there's big tables where people are having their lunch, and it sits like 20 people, and there's groups of 3, 2, 4, 5, and if you just go alone, start knitting, chances are someone is going to try and talk to you, for better or for worse. So even if you go alone, I'm sure that you could come out of there with at least one extra knitting friend made. Curious to see what the Woolly Good will be like. Yeah, me too. It seems like they've put so much work and effort into making it a great thing, and they tried to maybe go outside the box, or like they didn't just want to do a yarn festival, they wanted it to be more than that. So kudos to them, the organizers, for putting thought into it and not just going with what would be easiest, I guess. Here there's no festival, so I would be scared of missing out if not buying anything, but living where that special yarn is more accessible, I would totally go for just the community. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yes, Marlene, looking forward to be that friend next week, hehe. Yes, it's gonna be so great. Come and say hi to us if you see us. We'll be the two blondes. I think, Marlene, you're taller than me, aren't you? Because I'm 1.60 meters. I think you're gonna be at least one head taller. My therapist is also a knitter and always asks me if I've knit whatever I'm wearing when I do wear knitwear. Oh, that's great! Yeah, I always want people to ask me if I've knitted my sweater, but sometimes you can't really see, like from the camera when I'm doing meetings. You're trekking to Eddie for it, living in the middle of nowhere. If you said, I really like your sweater, where did you get it? They will happily tell you they made it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good safe question. Did somebody knit that for you? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, tactile mental therapy, like squeezing all the wool and seeing all the colors. That's so true. Like the therapy of just squishing the yarn, seeing all of the skeins laid out. The booths that the vendors have also are always so great to look at because they're so well thought of. They've got like all that vertical space that they try and fill. They've got samples. They've got like little stitch markers or accessories and needle stoppers. Like it's so great because someone doesn't just sell yarn usually. They have a bunch more happening. Then they go and collect the little business cards. It's really great to just... I think there's definitely a lot to be taken from a yarn festival, even if you don't buy anything, or even if you give yourself a budget of like £20 or something. Like you don't need to come with all the yarn back home. You can just get a couple little trinkets as a memory, and have the whole day of memories built in your mind. Oh, hi Pia. Would love to get some yarn from the UK and go to a festival there. Yes, yeah. Well, the good news is that there's so many different yarn festivals in the UK, so hopefully if someone is planning a holiday in the UK, they can try and plan one that's relatively, like, accessible by train or something to a yarn festival. Like, there's a bunch of them in the south, there's one in Wales, there's a bunch in Scotland. Flaminia, who's another podcaster, is gonna come do a semester abroad in Edinburgh, and she was so pleased because it was coinciding with the dates of a yarn festival, so she's going to be able to experience that. It's so great. We're probably also going to go together. But yeah, I was thinking, I mean, yeah, if I stop buying hand-dyed, I probably won't do all of the Scottish festivals. I'm definitely going to the one in June in the Galashiels, in the Borders, because I have booked my ticket already, but I'll see if I go to the other ones in autumn. I had such a good day at the Tangled Galashiels one. It was like a really warm, sunny day, which in June you would think was a given, but it wasn't a given. We were all surprised by the first really hot day of the year. And it was just fantastic. I went with Ross, and then we spent the time afterwards, like, walking around, getting ice cream, going to a restaurant. Then we drove back with the nice views of the countryside. It was amazing, and I did purchase yarn there, but that wasn't the best part of the day. What was nice as well was doing all the planning. So like people were saying, the whole inspiration of, even if you're not going to buy the yarn, but thinking about if I was to buy it, what would I use it for? Then that was good for getting your brain to work and getting a bit of those planning skills perfected. What else? Hoping to go to a little one near me this weekend, just outside Milton Keynes. It's an alpaca farm. Oh, that's great! Yeah, there's a cashmere goat farm here in Scotland. I think Ode from Bubbles and Berries just went. The event is called Goats with Coats. They had the whole thing where they were asking knitters to be knitting up little baby goat coats, and they had like hundreds, if not thousands, of parcels then sent to them. Like, the uptake was amazing. And then every year when they have the like kidding season, they dress the little baby goats in the coats and they take photos, and it's a way to raise a bit of money. And then they had like an open door for people to, I think, maybe feed the goats or pet them. That sounded amazing and something that maybe I'd want to do in the future. There's a yarn show, or like, no, a farm show in Edinburgh that I'm going to. I went last year and they had tons of sheep. It was really good for actually seeing all those breed in person. Some of the sheep were so yellow, they looked like they had rolled down in a tub of turmeric. I can't remember which species it was. I saw some Shetland sheep, saw some blue-faced Leicester. It was so fun. Like, we spent so much time with wool and knitting with their product. Like, it was kind of nice to meet the creators, the OG sellers of the wool. Just, like, they're actual animals there that live and get sheared to give us this wonderful material that we use. Goats with Coats is a brilliant name. Yeah. Yeah. There's also some farms that let you go and feed the lambs if needed. I was saying earlier, my view from the window, we also overlook a field where there's sheep, and I look at them every day. The other day I was up at 6 in the morning, so I went to look at the window, and most of them were sleeping. And it was really weird. Like, I never see sheep lying down, usually, when I'm in, like, on the road. It was kind of funny to see them just being on the ground. I learned that apparently sheep only sleep for 6 hours a day, and the rest of their time they spend it eating and masticating and digesting. Little fact for you. And they have almost 360 vision because their pupils are rectangles. And also their eyes are located on like either side of the head because they're a prey animal, and predators usually have their eyes in front of the face. Can you tell I read the Wikipedia page for sheep? I bought 2 skeins of yarn from an alpaca farm, and the yarn label has a picture with a specific alpaca it's from. Oh, that sounds amazing! It does feel so much like a bit more extra special to know that something is from a small business or from a like a local producer, and it doesn't go too far down the road to get spun or whatever and parceled and packaged. I think I would like to go to a farm and get their specific yarn. I am not making a lot of progress, guys. I've made 2 rounds. I'm just scared of missing the comments. But yeah, this Friday tea, I said in the podcast, normally you start with a neck and then you do a double folded neck and then you start the short rows, etc. But I didn't want to do so much ribbing just to start off, and I wanted flexibility of going back later and deciding what I wanted to do, so I just cast on at the neck and then worked my way down, which is pretty much now what I always do. And I always do the neck later. And normally I cannot wait when I finish a skein of yarn to go back to the neck and work the way up and make it look finished, so that not only does it look better as I'm working, but also it looks better for photos, but also when you try it on, it actually sets where it's going to set in the future, and then you can gauge length more accurately and appropriately. But yeah, here I've not been tempted to pick up the neck again. I'll show you where I'm at with a t-shirt. That's the back. Ta-da! It looks great. I'm kind of worried it's going to be too large. I'm making this size extra small, but have a loose tension, especially for purling. I've went down 1 needle size, so this is 275mm needles. I'm still worried because right now it looks good, but I know it could get much larger because it's rib, so it could stretch out a lot. But I think it's gonna be okay. I'll be very careful when I block it to not open it up. But anyway, yeah, I really want to be doing the neck. It's looking very rectangular because of like the big raglan. Like it looks very angular. Like, look at all those lines. The neck will hopefully round everything up. I'm just not looking forward to having so much rib to do. I think this particular t-shirt, Petiteknit, has you do a purl round in the middle to act as a folding line. And people were talking about that on the Discord earlier with, do you personally do the double knitted rows when you do a folded color or a purl round? And I think what I worry about when I do a purl round is thumb down. Now I wonder if someone left a thumb down or if it was because of my hand movements. I will look this up later. But yeah, I personally sometimes am worried of doing a purl row because I've been bitten in the past where I've done a purl round at what I thought was the halfway point, and then the point like at the highest that it would be. And then when I folded it and sewed it down together with the cast on edge, the purl round ended up not sitting exactly at the top where it should have, but slightly more towards my skin than it should have. And I know the reason why. It's because when I sew it down, I don't sew it exactly at the cast on edge. I sew it a little bit higher than that, so more towards the ribbing that I've done. And then obviously that makes the halfway point shift slightly. So that's what I mean with making a purl round. If the pattern says knit 10 rounds, do a purl round, knit 10 rounds, I don't know if it's going to sit exactly in the middle, and I have to maybe do a bit of calculation of maybe doing knitting 10, then doing a purl round, then maybe knitting 8 rounds. So I hope that makes sense. The green color looks really good. Yeah, I've done quite a lot. I think the underarm, I've knitted like a couple of stripes, which looks like nothing. It took me so long to split for the sleeves, but at least now it's very mindless, and if I just put a show, it's quite engaging because you're having to always alternate like the ribbing rounds and the knitting rounds, and then you have like the color changes as well. So it's not just everywhere stockinette, but it's still very small yarn and small needle, so it will take a while. And I think making the neck is a good way that it would break things up and make me feel like I'm closer to the finish line. And also the sleeves are tiny, or at least not full length, but I need to do some white stripes on the sleeves, and I've only got one skein of the white and it's already attached to the body. So I think what I would need to do is I would need to get like my fingers in there, pull out the center like end of it, which I'm sure I could do actually without too many problems. So I think I might do that maybe after the stream. Maybe it's cast on like and work on one of the sleeves. That could be a good way to break up the routine of the body, because I feel like I've been working on this body forever already. But I'm enjoying the colors a lot, and it's nice to be working on a fingering weight project because they're my favorites to wear. Do a heart with your hands. Do you think that'll work? No, it's not working. Oh, it is working! Oh my god! Yay! Okay, so it is reactive to my camera. That's so funny. My Friday tee didn't grow much with blocking. I used non-superwash and didn't pin it. Oh, that's good to know. I'm also using non-superwash. I think the Sunday is non-superwash, isn't it? So yeah, thanks for telling me. I think some people were saying like, because it's rib, it will stretch a lot. But then some people were saying that because it's rib, it will constrict a lot. And so someone was recommending actually going a size down. No, going up a size compared to your normal size, because if you didn't want a very, very form-fitting garment that emphasized a lot of things on your body, if you didn't want that, you were better off like going for a looser fit. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how this ends up looking on me. I just don't want it to be too long, So I'll make sure to try this on. Maybe do a mid block as well to see how it behaves. But yeah, I think I've convinced myself I probably should do a sleeve, because that'll just make me feel like I'm closer to the end, because right now it just feels like I've still just started. A peace sign should give us balloons. Well, that's why I thought, yeah, I thought that happened one time. By accident. Hello. No, it's not happening. Oh, it is happening! Okay. I think that's the highlight of my day. Thank you for suggesting those. Is there any other tricks like that? I think the hearts were really cute. Should have done that on the charity live stream when we finished the 12 hours. Haven't made it to fingering weight yarn yet. It scares me. I'll be brave soon. It's so worth it. It's so good. Like, they're genuinely my favorite things to wear ever. And even work on right now, like the sensory, tactile sensation of working with such thin yarn on wooden small needles. I'm enjoying this so much than, for example, cardigan number 8 I've just started. And it's still on like 4.5 millimeter needles, even though it's supposed to be 5.5. My tension is just way too loose. And it's using iron weight plus lace weight. It's so chunky and clunky and heavy and everything. Like, I feel like this is so much better to work on rather than the big iron tweed. But I'll show you what it looks like. Because you guys came to the live, so you get all the exciting secret stuff. Yeah, that's actually not very exciting. Oh, it looks very holy. That's... Oh no, that doesn't look good at all. I regret this. But it's the back neck for the cardigan. It looks very small. That's the yarn I'm using. Oh, the light is really not helping, so... just... I'll post it on Instagram. That's probably a better idea. Sorry. I'm doing a bind off on my sweater. I feel like never-ending horror. I feel less like never-ending horror when I'm listening to the live stream. Oh yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, bind-offs can take a while, especially if you're doing Italian. 2 thumbs up for fireworks. That's fantastic! That was the best one. That was the best one. Oh, thank you. Love it. Anyone have any tips for avoiding pain with smaller yarn? I feel like I tense up with it. I feel like having the natural fibers like wool is probably best for that. Because I remember people saying that with linen or cotton or things like that, you might struggle with the resistance from the strands. But definitely if you're having pain, probably like listen to your body and don't work on it for longer than you can handle, and make sure you've got other projects to alternate with. Maybe it's the needle size that is too small and so it makes you tense up, or the opposite. So maybe experimenting with a needle size. And then maybe also the style of knitting. People have said that if your grip is putting strain on your hands, trying a different style of knitting could reveal to you a more ergonomic way of holding the needles and the yarn. I just finished the lace section of my kutar top. Oh, I didn't know how to feel with my kutar top. When I did the front, that was really fast. Then I had to do the exact same for the back. That was really boring. And then I was like, it felt really nice and achieving to have finished that big lace section, but then all the rest was stockinette, and that also took a long time because it was like fingering weight, small needles, and it was quite long. But I really liked my guitar top. I hope you like yours. Loving all these effects, haha. Never knew about all the tricks. Yeah, it shocked me a few times when I accidentally triggered them in previous live streams. attention thin yarn in my hand different than I do with thicker. Yeah, I think I definitely hold my needles differently when I'm doing thick yarns and thick needles. I really don't like working on anything bigger than 4 millimeters. Depends on the yarn, but if it gives me trouble, I rest and do some stretches. Yeah, some people have also asked me if I do any stretches, like specifically for my hands. And I really don't have a formal routine or anything. What I usually do when I stretch is like I kind of like crack them like that. And then like do the wrist. I'm sorry if it's making noise and people don't like that. But I just try and stretch the fingers. And I do that quite regularly. But I've never had a day where I felt like my hands are gonna fall off. Even when I was doing my sample knit and I was on a deadline of 2 weeks for a garment, I wasn't doing, you know, like 7 hours in a row. Like I would do a bit in the morning, a bit at lunchtime, a bit in the afternoon, and then a lot in the evening. But it wasn't like a marathon. Or it wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon. So thankfully I didn't injure myself doing that. No work is worth putting yourself in pain for. I feel like lately I've been knitting less. I mean, today I didn't knit until now here for the stream. I don't know particularly why. I think I've been a bit frustrated with a few things I was working on for like different reasons. Like, you know, when you have 5 projects and then 4 of them you've just reached a stalemate and you're just like not even wanting to work on the one that you didn't have a problem with because you just know the looming issues of the other 4, and so you're like, should I go back and fix the other 4, or can I enjoy the 5th one in peace, like ignoring the fact that everything else is falling into pieces? To give you an example, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I've picked up an old project that has been hibernating for like half a year, and I was really excited. So you might recognize this. It's the Season Sweater by Ozetta. And it's in brioche, or actually it's in half fisherman's rib. And I finished it. Can you tell the difference? Is that because of a new... That looks different, doesn't it? Well, I hope it doesn't in real life, but it looks different. That's weird. And here's the back. Oh, then it doesn't look different on the back. But yeah, I finished the whole body in that, and that didn't take long. It's really nice and squishy. It's actually hand-dyed yarn and then the Rarum Natura. So you've got Gilead here for the main color, and then the Skin of Hand-dyed by Pigment and Ply. The lighting is terrible, but it's a very soft pink variegated with hints of yellow, blue, peach, pink, and it's really gorgeous. It's so good. And okay, so there's a tiny problem with the hand-dyed where I've noticed the second skin I've added for the second half of the body has more blue than the first part, but you're not going to be able to see here. I might put a story on Instagram tomorrow to show that. I only noticed that a bit later, and it doesn't bother me as much, especially because I haven't done the sleeves yet, so I don't know how the sleeves are going to be. So anyway, the thing that bothers me with this is that I tried it on for the first time and the neck is super tight. I mean, if you look at that here, look at the difference between the neck of my Lento and that neck. So I could put it on, but it was really stretched out, and there's no way I would be like happily putting that over my head all the time, especially if I'm taking it on and off all the time. I'd be annoyed it would mess up my hair. If I have my hair up, it'd get the scrunchie down with it, and I worry about it feeling like it's choking me. It's already a sweater people have said the neckline sits really high in, so it already would feel quite busy here, and it bothers me, so like I'd not maybe want to wear it all the time because I know that it was too tight. Will it block out? That's a good question. At first, because I realized that, I just didn't want to work on it anymore, And then I don't know if it's like, do I fix this because it's bothering me and then work on the sleeves? Or do I work on the sleeves, block it, see if it blocks out, then redo the neck if not? I just don't know what order to do things in, but I'm tempted to do the sleeves first, just to get it over with and just focus on the neck at the end. There's two possible options. The first one is I will undo the bind off and then I will re-knit it together with the cast on edge, but I will use a much bigger needle size so that it's more stretchy. And I feel like part of me believes that that's not going to be enough, and I think it will still feel very tight, but it wouldn't be hard to do because it would just involve me undoing one thing, catching the row, and then rebinding it in. Like, it would be quite easy to try that, so I could try that and then maybe block it. Like, I could just do that right away and then reblock it because it's not a lot of effort. Then the second option is to do a single layered color instead of doing a double folded like that. Although I really love how squishy and neat this looks, it would definitely be easier to like have a neck like this. There's definitely not a lot of chance of it being too tight. I would just like the look of it less. Everybody in the comments saying block it. Yeah. I think I'll still do the thing I said where I'll rebind it off with a bigger needle size because it really doesn't cost much to do that. Then I'll block it. Then at worst I could do a single layer color. Then at worst I could do a single layer color, try to wear that, and if I really hate it, try and redo a double folded color later down the line. Like we were saying, nothing is too permanent and there's always scope for frogging and changing things up afterwards. But yeah, I'm looking forward to taking a photo of this in a better quality camera, but yeah, I actually worked this entire sweater inside out because that way there were way less purl stitches to do and it was all knitting. And I recommend that trick for sure. And I absolutely adore the way that this looks on the wrong side. Like, it's all the very squishy fat stitches of the wrong side of Fisherman's Rib. I really love it. So maybe one day I'll make a season sweater wrong side edition on purpose. The sweater, I think some people have done in like this kind of very dense fabric with like the Gilia and the Surrey, but some people have also done it in unspun, and apparently the results are very different because this one is very stiff. A lot of people have done it in Gilead, and it is very stiff. And then some people have done it in this very flowy, light, airy fabric, and the drape is completely different, obviously, and it's nice to see the difference that, again, the same pattern but different yarn can give you. And I guess maybe you always want what you don't have, but when I saw those versions of a very flowy, loose, relaxed fabric and stretchy, I was like, oh, mine is like sitting upwards like a rock. But I am happy I picked this one back up because the color is absolutely gorgeous and a lot of you seem to agree. And it's nice to be finishing up something from the list from a long time ago. I mean, I've had a few hibernating whips that aren't bothering me too much, but in a way it's kind of like having free progress made for you already, because if you pick one back up from where you stopped before, a lot of the work will have already been done, and then a lot of the times you don't have to do that much to finish it. Like, I've got a Moonset tee by Ozetta that I just have, I think, maybe 2 or 4 inches at most of stockinette body to do on 2.75mm needles. And I think I'm definitely going to be casting that on, like picking it back up soon, because that'll be such a good t-shirt to have done right on time for the spring and summer. Like, the tee will have already been made because I worked on it so hard last summer. So I'm definitely going to be trying to make some progress on that by the time it gets warm and I can wear it. Maybe I could wear that to tangled gala shields. That would be a really comfortable fabric. So yeah, it's nice to be working up my hibernating whip pile. Does fisherman's rib stretch as much as normal rib? That's a good question. I would say yeah. I don't think it would be that different, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Maybe have some hidden old problems that flare up when knitting. Oh, that's not good. The color is stunning. Oh, thank you. Knitting the season's cardigan now. Maybe I'll try your trick when I start the sleeves. Yeah. I think for the sleeves I was just asking on Instagram because there are some sleeve decreases that you've got to work in the normal pattern. Ozetta is like, knit 3 together. And I was wondering if I want to do that from the wrong side, when Ozetta says knit 3 together, do I do a purl 3 together or a slip purl? And people have very helpfully messaged me to answer that, and I'm getting 50-50 on whether that's right or not. Like, people are very confidently saying opposite things, so I don't know. And the answer is just going to be to do it or swatch. I think I'm just going to go and do it and then see if it's right or wrong, and then if not, I'll just undo the row. But I'm going to share the results afterwards and tell you, because it's a bit of reverse engineering, things like that. I'm not really good at that kind of logic. If anybody has any idea of like what the reverse of a knit 2 together is. Have you seen The Nomad Hood by Susan Muller? Oh yeah, it is on my list. Susan Muller has so many patterns for half fisherman's rib, and she has a few of them that actually showcase the wrong side of the rib as the right side, one of them being the Coming Soon sweater, which is a hibernating whip for me. Have not worked on it for so long, it got boring. I was not splitting for sleeves yet, so yeah, I should probably get back on that at some point. I really liked the pattern and I really liked the yarn. I try not to work on such projects longer than I can handle semi-comfortably. I have a massive hibernating whip pile. Oh yeah, it's good to know I'm not alone. Finishing up the body on my Yule's Ganser finally, and going to move to the ribbing. It actually just took taking this on holiday, but I was dealing it for a month. Oh yeah, so many things can be done faster than what we think, especially if we give it the attention it deserves. I'm like that for second socks, for example. Like, it's a shame that sometimes they've got to wait for 6 months before getting a soulmate. The reverse of knit 2 together should be purl 2 together. Okay, thank you. That's what some people are saying, and I think that's what I'm aiming to do. Even though at first I thought that was wrong, because of the whole make one right, make one left debacle. It just really blows my mind trying to understand mirroring, which is also why, despite being left-handed, I'm definitely not a left-handed knitter. I just knit the regular way of, like, right-handed knitters do. I think Amy from Knits is a left-handed knitter, and she has to reverse everything when she does charts and everything, and she's done things like the Moby sweater with lots of charts, and she does it no problem. It's very impressive to be able to visualize the reverse of everything. Soulmates, yes. I'm glad you like my little joke. That's why 2 at a time socks are so good. Yeah, I think it's silly, but the only thing that stops me from doing 2 at a time is having to split my skein in half. I don't like cutting yarn more than I need to. Maybe you can do a languishing whip cowl. Yeah, that's true. I like cowls that have a good theme like that. I'm still doing my, what's it called? Magnum Opus cowl. I've not advertised that too much, like on Instagram and YouTube, but it's like a year-long knit along for like something that you consider to be your Magnum Opus. I'm planning to do my Yale cardigan and cast on the Lucia pullover, which I've swatched for the Lucia, and then I just started working on a lot of complicated things with charts, and I just never was in the mood to like start the Lucia. But starting should be the least of my worries, because it's a project that just seems to be taking ages to do, like the body, for example, when there's not increases or anything to keep you interested. The yellow cardigan I am not going to swatch for, I'm just going to cast on because I know my gauge for Shetland wool. I've done so many projects with the yarn. Oh yeah, someone asked earlier if I was making it in the original colors for the yellow cardigan. I'm following the palette of the version from Bella from 100 Acre Wool. She made a very beautiful spring-like pink and green version, and I totally love it. I've seen a lot of other versions on Ravelry that I also really, really liked, but I kept on coming back to Bella's version, and so I ended up getting all the yarn that she used. I'm only missing one. And I'm delaying buying it because there's a few sellers that sell it in the UK, but then you have to pay like just as much for shipping than you do for the one ball of yarn. And I've been hoping that it would magically come into my lap for some reason, like maybe I would see it somewhere else. But I'm gonna have to pull the plug and just buy a skein of yarn on its own, which I never do. I've never just bought one skein of yarn. I always buy more stuff in the basket. Yeah. I don't split my skein in half when doing to the time, just pull yarn from the center and then another from the outside. Yeah, true. That's doable for a lot of the skeins. I think maybe I could be giving two at a time another chance. The other time I did it was for the penny gloves, and that actually slowed me down so much, and I hated doing it for some reason. And I found the penny gloves to be much easier to do one by one. But yeah, for socks, I could be giving it another chance. I really don't do it much at all. What else is currently living rent-free in your mind? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, yeah, so definitely, like, earlier this month, it was all the advent calendar, like, craziness. That was definitely taking up most of my brain space. Recently, I've not really been on Instagram that much either, because everybody's talking about summer stuff, and I'm not in the mood for it, so I feel like it doesn't resonate with me, and I'm not getting excited with that stuff at the same rate as other people are getting excited about it. I think Fair Isle, like color work, is really exciting in my mind right now because I've been planning my yellow cardigan. I have another sweater quantity of Jamison's of Shetland Spinrift yarn for another Mary Wallen project, the Brise sweater. But I'm going to be doing the yell first, which is steeked, and I've never done that before. I have a vest quantity from the Brunsfield from Isolda, but I've kind of changed my mind on one color from the color palette. I've got black, white, and grey, and then brown. And I think I want to change the brown for a color, but I don't know which one yet. And then I've been thinking of doing the Birkin by Caitlin Hunter. I got some yarn for it on sale. I was really excited because I had my eye on that yarn for a very long time. And then it went on sale, so I was... I took it, and I have all the contrast colors ready. I'm really tempted to do that soon because the color work is just on the yoke, so it's not like it's all over color work. My color work tension is the best when it's on fingering weight things, which is why I'm really attracted to Shetland color work. As much as I love Sari Nordland's sweater patterns, I just always feel a bit self-conscious about my tension on those heavy DK worsted weight color work jumpers, and I do find them to be a little too warm because of all the floats at the back. So I'm tempted to try a fingering weight Shetland wool jumper. Is anybody doing the Sunshine Tea Cal by Andrea Garn? No, I was tempted to, but I realized the gauge for that is 27 stitches, and I cannot achieve that. There's no way. The highest I can go is like 24 stitches, so I sadly don't think I'd be able to do it, which is frustrating because I really want to knit some nice like summer tees and everything in those really thin gauges, but I don't think it'll be an enjoyable experience for me to go down to like a 2mm needle or something for a t-shirt. Do you think the season sweater would be an okay first texture project? Yeah, I think so. It's half fisherman's rib as opposed to brioche. They give the same effect, but they're worked differently. I personally prefer half fisherman's rib, where you knit below, or in my case, purl below. I find that more enjoyable and easier to do right, because you don't have to worry about if your yarn is like in the front or the back when you're slipping things and stuff. Then there's the brioche technique, where you have to do slips with yarn overs, and I find that one to be a little like easier to get wrong if you're not thinking straight, personally. So maybe do an accessory first, like a headband or a hat in either technique, and then see which one you preferred first. And then the pattern is really well explained, and there's a ton of videos from Ozetta, especially things like how to do increases, decreases, and how to tink back in half fisherman's rib, apparently. I haven't used the video, but it's there. When it comes to color work, I've been currently thinking of casting on the festive yoke sweater. Yes, I want to do that one too, actually. I was hesitating so long between the festive yoke pullover and cardigan, and then in the end that gave me decision paralysis. I think what I wanted to do was only buy one pattern and then, you know, just figure out how to do the other one. So I was thinking of buying the cardigan pattern that tells you how to do it and how to stick it. And then if I wanted a sweater, I could just like get the sweater from that. But also the pattern comes with so many different charts of color work, and I feel like once again the highly customizable nature of the pattern is a barrier for me, because I don't know if I want to do all over charts just for the yoke, if I want to copy someone's progression of the charts or do my own one. It's just like so many options, but all the projects look absolutely gorgeous, so I feel like you can't really go wrong technically. It's just, will I have to think a lot about this project while I'm doing it, or will it be an enjoyable, smooth ride that isn't filled with decisions? I have a jumper that is DK stranded and it's very warm. Yeah, I bet that the Celeste sweater by Petiteknit in Peer Gynt must be really, really warm as well, because Peer Gynt is crazy warm, and the floats, there's going to be so many in that yoke, isn't there? Would the mohair only sweater grow a lot when blocked, and how would you block it? Someone is saying that it didn't grow. Yeah, technically the silk core isn't that elastic, so it probably shouldn't. But you'd be safe putting it in water. I think maybe just be careful not to like rub it too much with your fingers, otherwise you're gonna like make it shed a lot. Because I have that sometimes with like mohair cardigans or jumpers or like fluff. If I lay them down to dry on my blocking mats and I like pat them flat, I just end up with so much crap on my hands. It's like very not enjoyable. I'm planning to knit the color work over the yoke and one chart after dividing. Oh, that's lovely. Well, I hope you get to do it then, yeah. I would probably use Shetland wool for it, the festive yoke. I'm trying to think if I want to do the festive yoke then this winter for my Christmas jumper or cardigan, or do I want to do the Santa Baby by Phil Colana. It's a free pattern that has like 2 rows of trees on the yoke. And I was thinking of just like doing it white with green trees and then maybe adding some embroidered details on the Christmas trees, like lights or stars or garlands. But I don't know if that's going to be like a nice idea in theory and then I don't want to do it, like all the finishing touches afterwards. Maybe I would just rather having all of it be knitting so that I can be done with the knitting and it's done. Planning to use knitting for Olive for the mohair sweater, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you guys are helping each other in the comments with your experiences. That's always really helpful. My standard bind off is taking up so much space in my brain right now. It's super tight and frustrating. Oh no, that's not nice. I have like mixed results with the sewn bind off. I feel like I'm just too loose, shocker, and it ends up flaring and taking up more space than like the body of the sweater or the ribbing of the sweater does. But then when I block my sweaters, I usually stretch out the ribbing to be in line with the sweater. Like I just make everything a bit wider to then match my bind off. And that seems to help. I always make sure to pin the bind off down to keep it like flat and straight and even. Like it's definitely the reason why I'm always motivated to block my knits, because it really is like a makeover for them. They don't look photo ready before blocking whatsoever. I'm always in awe at designers when they're sharing progress pics of their knits still on the needles, and then they're very even and everything before. Like blocking does a lot of the work for me, and maybe I rely on it too much than I should. I don't even want to do duplicate stitch after knitting it's done. Yeah. That's what I was saying, like maybe I should go back to my knits one time and fix them. There's not that many. Like one time what I was trying to do was a video where I was making a list of all the sweaters that had something wrong with them, and I was going to fix them and record myself doing that, and I had started doing all that. I knitted all the before. I filmed all the before, and then my computer broke down during that whole thing and I couldn't edit, and I lost some of the progress on the footage, and it was upsetting and frustrating, and I just kind of lost steam on that idea. So technically I still have the footage, but I lost steam on the idea, so I don't think that video will be out. That was 5 sweaters that I had fixed. I had like sewn a neckline down, put some elastic in something, wove the ends of another, and that was a fair few months ago, maybe 6 months ago. And I'm thinking now, have I accumulated more knits that have something wrong with them that I could remake that video again? Or should I wait for another 6 months to really accumulate problematic knits and then afterwards film myself fixing them? I don't know. Okay, I'm done with the green, so we're changing colors to the white. I really hope I have enough white to finish this, which is also why it would be a good reason to do the sleeves before finishing the body. I'm quite excited now that I've decided I'm going to be doing the sleeve. Although, again, question, should I do the neck first and then do the sleeves so that I can more accurately gauge sleeve length because of how the neck is going to sit on my body? I probably should, shouldn't I? So maybe I'll do the neck tonight then. That's so much ribbing. But I'll put a nice show on. And hopefully it'll go by quite quickly. I think then the next question is, yeah, do I do a purl row and be careful? Or do I not do a purl row at all? I think I want to do one, but then I'm gonna get burned. I haven't done one in a long time for precisely that reason. So I think I'm ready to get hurt again. I hope everyone's having a good time and that you've done some progress on your knitting. Still have to fix your super long sleeves on your Sonia sweater. Oh, don't remind me. I've got to frog my entire Sonia sweater, partly because of the enormous sleeves. I don't know what happened there. If you're doing a sewn bind off and you combine the steps, it ends up looser than if you do it one at a time. Oh, interesting, because I definitely combine the steps. But I've noticed for cardigan number 8, I've done the pockets already, and they have a bit of ribbing at the end, and I decided for the hell of it, and I usually don't do that anymore, but I did the steps for tubular bind off with the set up rounds in double knitting. Then I did my sewn bind off, and that actually made the bind off much tighter than my tubular sewn bind off usually is. So now I'm wondering, should I go back to doing tubular bind offs instead of sewn bind offs, because they will be less flaring and loose. Is there a technique you previously disliked and now you like, or the reverse, like purling? Again, that's a really good question. I don't like ribbing, and I stand by that. Like, I know a couple people now are like doing ribbed camisoles, and I couldn't imagine a worse project to work on that is just ribbing all the time. Like right now doing broken rib is not the worst because of that rest row in the middle, but even cables, for example, like technically it's a rib because you have to have purl so that the cables can stand out and everything, but it doesn't feel like ribbing because you're having to do those like cables, and sometimes you have a big panel of like, I don't know, 6 or 8 knit stitches in a row. Just putting my electric blanket back on. So I don't know. I haven't thought of it, so I will think about that, and I'll message you to tell you if there's a technique that I've changed my mind on. Excited for the weekend. Your friends and I will be knitting at the park tomorrow. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, now I'm really tempted to go to Edinburgh, take my knitting with me, and knit in front of the cherry blossoms. I'll see how I feel tomorrow, if I'm motivated, but that could be a lovely day out. Maybe it could be like inspiring to just be alone, listen to some music, and have the beautiful sights in front of me. Binding off the second sleeve of your outline tee. Oh, that sounds lovely. I've made an outline tank a long time ago, and I don't dislike it, but I've not worn it at all this season. I think it just never gets warm enough in Scotland that you can wear tank tops. And I thought I would layer them more, and I think it's also why I'm not that excited about summer knitting this season, is because I know that I'm not going to wear them as much because it doesn't get too cold, and I didn't actually have that many things to layer them with, and I don't necessarily want to keep buying ready to wear items to layer with, again, just for the sake of one outfit for like one hot week of the year in Scotland. So yeah, I don't know if I should keep knitting for the clothes I already own, or should I make an investment into some clothes for the things that I want to knit. Working on the Darling wrap, about to join the sleeves for the body. Oh, that's great. That looks really, really cute as a pattern. I've made the outline tee without the drop stitches, just love the shape. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, I think I definitely like the tees more than I do the camisoles for sure. I want to make the Lakes tee by Ozetta this year. It's on my very, very small spring/summer knitting list. And then there's a top by Sarah Nordland called the Rosalind top. I talked about it before in a roundup. It's like not a camisole per se because it has that high neck and then like drop shoulder, but like tailored shoulder. I don't know what the shape of that is called, like a high neck, I think. So yeah, definitely warmer than the straplet, the straps with I-cords. I think that's also a problem with camisoles and stuff, is I just don't trust the I-cords and it doesn't feel secure and it's hard to gauge the length. But if I'm wearing a sleeveless top that kind of has the same construction as a sweater but just without the sleeves, like a vest, that actually seems like more wearable. And it's not something that I knew about myself last year, but I know now that I prefer. So yeah, it's nice to learn from the lessons from last season. I'm going to frog a whole sweater with mohair. Oh, good luck. Working on the cuffs of the sleeves for my Zakuri cardigan. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I've seen that. Working on the master's thesis this weekend. Oh, good luck. And knit afterwards. I like to wear a bra and I want the straps to be covered. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. It's just so hard to know what to wear with a lot of those trendy tops that were all the rage last summer. Like, I got very disillusioned seeing so many Instagram trendy photos of people wearing things that I really wanted to wear too, but I just knew realistically I couldn't, and also maybe wouldn't be comfortable in. And I really value comfort over fashion nowadays, and have for the past few years. I just want to be comfy, not think about what I'm wearing, not having to readjust all the time. Which is why sometimes it's a bit sad, because a lot of the things I'm knitting, they're not as comfortable as, let's say, pajamas. So if I'm really wanting to lounge around all day in the comfiest thing, it probably would be my pajamas. Even though I want so hard to be the person who lounges all day in their favorite piece of knitwear. So I don't know if I need to find the softest ever, most breathable, airiest layer of knitting, like wool. Or not even wool, I guess, maybe a different fiber blend. Like, I just want to lounge in something that I've made. And Pia was saying the other day that I should start sewing and make pajamas. And yeah, that's probably a hobby for another period of my life. Not right now. Oh, it snowed today. That's crazy. In New York City, it gets so hot, I have to start thinking about summer tops. Yeah, it's funny seeing how everybody's in different places and they're all having a very different experience. I have a sweater made using a blown yarn and it's so light and cozy. Yeah, I do really enjoy my Isayur EcoSoft jumpers. They're definitely very light. So, and I'm so excited that they've released a few new colors of that one. That's gonna be super handy for when I see other patterns I want to do with EcoSoft. There's not that many, because I guess it's a bit more of a niche yarn. But maybe now that they've released more colors, maybe more designers are going to be using it. Or maybe they're going to be doing an Isayur collection next year. Do you think that they're going to be doing another collection, by the way? Because they did one last year, and then they did one this year. And usually it's promoting a yarn. Was it promoting a yarn this year? I feel like it doesn't snow anymore in Glasgow. Yeah, we didn't really get snow last year, did we? Like, we got a couple of days, I think, here in where I live. I finished the Farnham sweater and it's looking too big, like 30 centimeters of ease. Ooh. But isn't that sweater meant to be having a lot of ease? It looks so good though. I really want to maybe make a Farnham sweater one day. But I don't want to have too many striped sweater because I'm worried they're all going to look the exact same. So I want to be really conscious and like intentional about which striped sweater I choose to knit, because there's not going to be that many in my life. Because I don't want to always choose the same colors, but also there's only so many color combinations that I think look good for stripes. Knitted loungewear sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I think it really is a matter of finding the right comfortable yarn. Maybe one day I'll even go back to superwash yarn, like from Malabrigo, for example, because that was always very, very soft, like zero itch factor whatsoever, but I just don't like working with superwash. But I do like wearing it. I just found it so difficult to predict how it would behave and grow, and yeah, usually the colors are quite vibrant, so I don't know. It just would feel weird, especially now that I'm so used to non-superwash. It'd feel weird going back to superwash. My first couple of colorwork sweaters were with Malabrigo Rios. They were some Jennifer Steingast patterns. That was fun. But again, my colorwork tension on worsted yarn is not good. And the yolks ended up being way too long. Superwash coated in plastic though. Yeah, I know exactly. I'm always wearing my very lightweight, oversized top-down raglan sweater. Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to wear like an oversized sweater on top of the pajamas. Well, now I'm thinking like when I finish this, I'm probably going to keep this for the rest of the evening because it's nice and warm enough and not too warm for the temperature in my flat right now. I'd love to have a knitted comfy dress as homeware. One day I will start it. Oh, good luck with that. Superwash is great for pajamas. Definitely prefer working with non-superwash, but it does have a place. Yeah, I think it's good not to just completely write it off and maybe have it for some very specific purposes. Like, yeah, if I were to make a loungewear thing, I probably would make it in superwash. Slipovers are pretty versatile. Currently doing vest number 1. Plan to wear it through the school year. Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah, cotton merino. I really want to use the cotton merino. I think that's what I'm going to be doing my Lakes tee with. I got a t-shirt quantity last year that I really need to use this year. Beast from the East from 2018. Oh yeah, that was crazy weather. I think I'm going to start winding down here, people. Getting a bit out of voice, needing to drink some water, and yeah, the light is kind of leaving as well, so I think it makes sense. But it's been really enjoyable sitting with you guys. Definitely had a lot of thought to share about Advent at the start, and then some very interesting questions from you guys. I hope that you enjoyed watching this and participating in the chat. If you have any suggestions for future streams, or if there's a particular thing that you enjoy about these or something that doesn't work so well, let me know. Something that I'm curious about is if you'd want some background music. It's something that's kind of tricky for me to find and implement. But if it's something that you really want, then I'd be happy to do it if people were asking for it. So let me know your thoughts on background music for the streams and the frequency of them, and yeah, just if you're viewing these and you're not participating and you're happy with that, that's completely fine. If you're wanting to participate but something is stopping you, then you can also let me know. If there's anything that I can do to make you more likely to participate if you wanted. Thank you for coming. I'm really glad to be seeing all the familiar names and faces. It feels like catching up with friends, and I'm really glad that you guys showed up. This feels a bit more natural than maybe like a filmed knit and chat, and I feel like it was a knit and chat basically. Just, yeah, happy to have talked out loud and said my thoughts. Thank you. Thank you for the live stream. It was lovely. Oh, thanks. Oh, Adrian von Ziegler does not mind people using his music. That is useful. Thanks for telling me. Oh, someone's saying no background music. Yeah, I think it can be pros and cons of like distracting and impeding on like the understanding the words and stuff. I think the podcast is good. Don't change anything. Oh, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the weekend. I'm lurking, but that's just because I'm busy knitting. Yeah, I thought that could also be the case for sure. I mean, the people who are knitting in the background and not talking definitely got more progress than us talking. And is 2 hours like a good time? Like, would one be too short? Would three be too much? It probably would be for me. Yeah, lo-fi type is good for music. If you have any thoughts or you want to talk about anything else, then yeah, message me on Instagram if needed. Happy weekend, everyone. And thanks again so much for coming. Bye. Bye, guys. I don't have a date for the next one, but I'll share that on the podcast or on Instagram. Probably in like a month or two is usually what I do. But yeah, bye, guys. See you later.